my name is Gretta Perlmutter, and I am a mindset coach, and I'm host of the Coping with Ghosting podcast. My mission is to help people heal after they've experienced heartbreak, betrayal, life's toughest moments.
So I guess you are so specialized because it's a common thing.
Absolutely. It's a really common experience. It's incredibly unfortunate, but I think the reason that it's happening so much more nowadays is because people can easily connect. We can all go online, make fast connections, especially in love and dating and relationships. And just as quickly as we can make them, it's easy to disconnect. A lot of the connections we're making, they're anonymous. It's this whole swipe culture on dating apps. You go into these apps, it feels like it's a casino. There's bells and whistles, and you match and you get this dopamine hit, and you can chat a little bit, but you can also disconnect. There's no accountability. This is like completely pretty much anonymous. And so it's easy to connect and disconnect. And so tech has really brought along, I think, the increase that we're seeing in this ghosting, what I call silent pandemic.
Oh, that's heavy. And I take it that you have had experience with this yourself.
Yes, I was ghosted on repeat. It felt like I was on a haunted merry-go-round in dating. And I really, in the beginning of when I was first ghosted years and years ago, I took it so personally, and I would do everything to numb, avoid, and distract from those feelings of lack of self-confidence, insecurities, and doubt in myself. I took it really personally, like, what did I do wrong? And I was so confused. And this is a normal reaction. But what I realized over time, and as I did the work in therapy, and as my confidence grew, that I was no longer internalizing this, and that I had done the work and realized that ghosting is a them problem, not a me problem. It indicates that they're either unable or unwilling to communicate the end of a relationship. There's something going on in terms of their emotional maturity and their ability to communicate respectfully. And so I stopped taking it personally, and it kept on happening. And I realized that I wanted to go help my former self. I couldn't travel back in time. So I started the podcast to give hope, healing, and understanding to people who are currently being ghosted in love and all types of other areas.
So we'll get into some of that later. But first, I wanted to get into the definition of ghosting.
So I use the Oxford Dictionary definition of ghosting, and it's the practice of ending a personal relationship with someone by suddenly and without explanation withdrawing from all communication. And now that definition does not include leaving abruptly because you're in an abusive situation. That is defined as self-protection. It's also really different than leaving a relationship after a boundary has been violated. If somebody is breaking your boundaries and they're really disrespecting you, leaving is self-respect. So that's ghosting in a nutshell. And it's interesting to see how age correlates with ghosting. Would you like to hear a little bit about that?
Absolutely.
Okay. So I think there's a myth around this that as people get older, that they're going to become more emotionally mature, and that's not always the case.
Sadly.
Sadly, emotional growth doesn't just happen because time passes. It happens when you reflect, learn, and do the work. So I've seen ghosting happen across all age groups. There was actually a study conducted, and it was a number barn study. And this was conducted in 2025. There are 1,500 people in the USA. And within the participants, the Gen Xers, 49% of them said, yes, I've ghosted. And 30% of the boomers said, yes, I've ghosted within a dating context. So yes, the numbers were way higher for the millennials and Gen Z. They they said, yes, we've ghosted. And it was at 52% in each of those age brackets. But this is not just limited to younger people. This is across the board.
If you have been connecting with somebody online and you arrange to meet and you go on that date and then you both say, hey, that's fun, let's do it again, and then nobody follows up, that's not ghosting.
Right. Because communication goes both ways. It's on the responsibility of both parties to take action. So if you go on a date with somebody and they don't say anything and you don't say anything, then it's obvious there's nobody saying anything, right? There's such a thing as technical glitches, right? So maybe the person actually did write back, hey, I had a great date, want to go out again, but you never actually got their text message. So this is where assumptions and assuming you've been ghosted, it can get really, really harmful. And I always tell people, if you think you're being ghosted and if you're wondering, where is that follow-up text? It's on you to check in. Say something casual like, hey, I had a good time. How have you been? Or whatever it is, to continue the conversation and give the other person the benefit of the doubt.
Yes. And if I were to do that and I still didn't get a response, then I've been ghosted.
Yeah, I mean, I would say check in maybe 1, 2, even 3 times.
Really?
Yeah.
3 times.
I mean, it's a lot. It depends on your investment level and how much you really care. So, for example, you could write to somebody and say, hey, I had a good time, because you never got a text from them after the date, right? And you're just like, hey, how are you? And then they don't write back. Maybe it's been 2, 3, 4 days. And you're just like, hey, I'm concerned. Did you get my last text?
Mine is always, he's dead on the side of the road. That's why you can't get in touch with me. Yeah.
Yeah, and in extreme cases that can happen. And unfortunately, I've been in this for so long now that I have seen people who think they've been ghosted, but the other person, unfortunately, is deceased. So really, it's all about giving people the benefit of the doubt. And you could also just say, like, you know, for me, you could just say, hey, I haven't heard back from you. I'm not sure if you're okay. I wish you the best, but I'm just going to drop out of this chat. I'm going to end this connection now. And just tell them what your needs are. And if they ever get back to you, fine. But you've stated what you want clearly. I'm done.
Yeah, so that's what I was going to ask. If you get a text like that after 3 days, you know, because, okay, so I don't say anything. So I'm assuming, you know, and then they say, hey, what happened? Then it really is the best thing for me to then respond to that and say, I had a nice time, but I'm not interested in taking this further.
Right.
I mean, it just seems kind of cruel to just completely not respond.
Right. I would respond for sure and respectfully communicate that this isn't the right match and that you're moving on and, you know, wishing you all the best. Good luck out there.
So why do some people find that so hard to do?
I think it feels a little awkward to do. It is uncomfortable when we know we're socially rejecting somebody else. And interestingly enough, there was a study done, a published study called Ghosting Social Rejection Without Explanation, but Not Without Care. And it revealed, this was from last year, that some ghosters truly believe that ghosting is the kinder thing to do, which absolutely blows my mind. I actually have a whole podcast episode on it with the researchers. It's called Do Ghosters Care? I mean, it's uncomfortable to have one of those conversations, and these caring ghosts feel like they're doing the right thing by sparing somebody a really potentially hard conversation.
Oh my gosh. I feel like that's definitely projecting. It's just you don't have the courage or the words or the self-confidence or whatever to just say, no, thank you, or whatever.
Right.
Okay. So I want to give you some, I posted on the Dating While Gray Facebook page that we were going to have this conversation. And I want to give you some examples of some experiences that are out there in the dating after 50 world.
Okay.
And they're kind of different levels of commitment, I guess. One woman said she met someone in the real world. They had a great conversation. They then exchanged names and phone numbers. And then they texted a little bit afterwards, starting to make plans And then she got ghosted. Another woman said she got ghosted after, quote, 6 really good dates. It feels hurtful and confusing. I'm okay now, but it was tough. I thought maturity would prevail at this age.
Right.
And then another woman wrote that she was, quote, ghosted after a 4.5-year relationship. So are there levels of harm, I guess, that we inflict or that is inflicted upon us, depending on when in the relationship cycle we're ghosting or getting ghosted?
Absolutely. 100%. And I believe there's a question that people have asked me, which is ghosting abuse? So for the woman whose plans never came to fruition with the potential date, I don't think that's abuse. I think that's incredibly disrespectful. I think that's rude. I think it's like just horrible the way she was treated, right? But I don't think it's cruel. And with the person in the 4-year relationship, being ghosted in a long-term relationship, yes, I think that's absolutely horrific. And my heart goes out to that person because that is one of the hardest things that we can possibly experience in all of our life in terms of relationships. So yes, I do think there are levels. It's a spectrum. There's a lot of gray area. It's not black and white at all.
Right. And I just think about, especially even the woman with 6 really good dates.
Oh, yeah.
The most frustrating thing, I need words, and I'm trying to let go of that. I'm trying to realize that actions do speak louder than words. And so I don't want to assume anything, but at the same time, if there comes a certain point where you're not hearing words, you have to assume the actions or lack of actions is speaking volumes, right?
Yes.
But it's so incredibly frustrating. I mean, it almost becomes like you feel a compulsion about it. And so how can we deal with ghosting in a less emotionally upsetting way? Or can we?
Right. So I think one of the biggest myths and misconceptions about ghosting is that we could just get over it. I think whenever we feel strongly about somebody or we love them or we're in a relationship or we've been intimate with them, they're in our hearts and they're in our hearts forever. And so we can't just turn love on and off like we're flipping a switch, but we can grow around our grief. Being betrayed on this level creates a psychological earthquake. This is one of the hardest things, as I said before, that we can go through. It is utterly confusing. It's shocking. It's like somebody pressed a big delete button on us and now we're invisible. So I have 5 things you need to know after being ghosted.
Okay.
So the first is do not ghost yourself. Okay, it's normal to feel incredibly overwhelmed when this happens. And so the first thing I want you to do is block and delete that ghost because they've lost their privileges and they don't deserve any type of access to your life. Okay.
And is there a certain amount of time before you block and delete? Should you give them some, leeway?
Yeah, absolutely. Once you're 100% sure you've been ghosted, then block and delete. And the way you can determine that, it really depends, again, on the type of situation you're in. So if you have, let's say you've gone on 6 dates and that person you're dating is a friend of your friend, right? Then you might want to check in with that friend to see, is that person okay? Or maybe you want to go online and see if they've been posting to social media. Are they alive and they're just ignoring you on purpose?
Yeah.
Because there's an accidental ghost. There's somebody who doesn't ghost maliciously or with intention. And so you just want to see if you kind of want to suss out the situation.
Right.
Okay. But once you're 100% sure, then do the blocking and deleting. Part of not ghosting yourself is to delete that person so you can completely focus on yourself and give yourself everything that you wanted from the ghost. That's like asking yourself questions like, what do I need now in this moment? Am I hungry? Am I tired? What can I do to feel better now? Because this is so incredibly upsetting. Okay.
Yeah.
So 2.
So 2.
Ghosting isn't personal. And I know
That's
it feels,
hard.
it's really hard because a lot of these ghosts go around treating everybody so well and they're so popular, but that's just part of how they move. They have a public persona and a private persona. It's a two-faced situation. So people ghost when they're unable or unwilling to show up to a relationship like a mature adult. And you're not responsible for this person's behavior.
3.
It's remember that you're worthy no matter what, and that your worth and their vanishing act are unrelated. So, if somebody doesn't acknowledge you or appreciate you, that's on them and not you. 4.
Yes.
You can get through this. I know that this is really hard to hear now, but you can heal without an answer, without an apology, without that final conversation. You can get through this.
Yeah. And then what's your 5th tip?
Okay, so this can be a catalyst for positive growth and change. And the reason why is because this experience reveals what you truly need and deserve in relationships. And it may be really hard to see this now, but their absence is creating space for something more aligned.
Yes. They're great tips, but and it's hard to think about that. I think my personality is such that I think a lot of us, maybe especially women, tend to think this is my fault, or what can I do to fix a situation, instead of just walking away from it. So I appreciate your tips. And a woman did on the Facebook, another one was, she said she's been ghosted a couple of times. And of course she wanted an explanation. She said she never got it, but as you said, the most important thing is not to blame yourself. It says more about the integrity or lack thereof of the person who ghosted you. So what would you want to say to somebody who might be listening, who has in fact ghosted someone?
This is such a great question. I have ghosted somebody and I felt terrible after it. And I will never ghost again because it actually really can create anxiety, stress, guilt, shame, even depression for the person who's doing the ghosting. So there are side effects when you ghost and it backfires. So the person who ghosted, first of all, practice self-compassion. We all make mistakes. We all do things that hurt other people, whether it's intentional or not, at some point in our lives. This is part of our shared humanity. Learn from this experience. This is something that maybe didn't make you feel so great. So in the future, don't ghost again. Now, interesting thing is, well, should you make amends or apologize? It's really up to you. But the research suggests that apologizing after social rejection can, in fact, hurt the person who's been ghosted a little bit, because they'll feel angry. They'll feel like, oh, they're just apologizing to make them feel better. They might feel obligated to restart a relationship even if they don't want to. They may feel obligated to forgive even if they're not ready to. So I actually, interestingly, don't recommend making amends or apologizing, because it can sometimes hurt the person who's been ghosted.
Okay, so I can understand not like reaching out to make amends, but if you happen to run into somebody in the wild, should we go up to them and say hi, or no?
If you're the ghost, I would let that person approach you.
Okay, and so if you are the ghosted, should we go?
Yeah, so
you hear about these things about high school reunions, people going, oh, you were so mean to me 30 years ago or whatever. But what do you think?
Absolutely. I think everybody who's been ghosted needs to have a plan for what they would do, what would feel comfortable to them if they run into the person who ghosted them. And I'm saying this even if they live 7,000 miles away. And the reason why is because I bumped into the person who ghosted me in high school. And it was very uncomfortable and very awkward. So always just have a plan in the back of your mind. Are you going to kill them with kindness? Are you going to just turn around and walk away? If you want, I can share what happened with.
Yeah, please do.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So she ghosted me in high school. Really, really bad situation. She did some other really mean things to me too. So, but I won't even go into that. And then I was 27 years old living in Boston. We had grown up in California. And I ordered some food at a restaurant and I was waiting for it. So I couldn't leave. And I hear her yell out my name. And I just was like, okay, well, I can't like ignore her. So I walked over to her, her husband, her baby. We had this conversation and I just was like, okay, I'm going to just be as nice as possible to this person. And she actually apologized and said that she was really depressed in high school, had gone through a bunch of things, was really sorry for the way she treated me. So
if I were brave enough to go over and confront somebody who ghosted me, I might not be polite about it, but I then would probably feel bad for not being polite about it. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean.
It just has dawned on us we've been ghosted. Is there something we could say to ourselves or do for ourselves in that moment that then puts us on the path to healing?
Yeah, that's a great question. What is the one thing? Self-soothing is in any way that you possibly can, because this is very upsetting. This can be extraordinarily traumatic. And just figuring out a way to self-regulate and ground yourself, calm your nervous system. Some actionable tips for this include you could give yourself a hug. That feels really good. Just give yourself a hug. You've been hurt. Another thing to do is to practice box breathing. It's when you inhale for the count of 4, you hold for the count of 4, and then you breathe out for the count of 4, you hold that for the count of 4, and then continue on. It's also known as square breathing. You can practice this for about 5 minutes. And what I really like about this is you could be at work and doing it. Nobody's going to notice if you're just breathing, you know, your body, and just comforting your body is a really helpful thing to do, because this is a huge attack on your mind, your body, your heart. This can create post-betrayal syndrome, which is basically all these symptoms that occur when we've been betrayed, and it can hurt you have gut issues, trust issues, anxiety, depression. There's all these things that happen after we've been betrayed. It's a real physical thing. It's emotional, psychological. So just really take care of yourself. Make sure you're eating meals that are nourishing and that you're moving, that you're not just sitting there in shock. And so go on a walk, get some fresh air, that kind of thing.
I was talking with my book agent and I was telling her what I say in my head, or sometimes I say it out loud, is, and it's not just from ghosting, it's any kind of rejection. I always say, "You're lost, buddy," in my mind.
Yeah.
"You're lost, buddy." And she said she always goes, "Next."
Yeah.
So I like that too.
I really like that too. And I do believe that those people that ghosted me, they did lose me, but they also lost their ability to show up resilience. They lost their chance to have a hard, mature conversation. They're losing out on all these skills that are important to life. There's a lot of loss that goes on for the ghost and the ghostie.
Yeah. Okay. Is there anything else we need to know?
I would say that really, I think you know that you're healing when you are not letting the ghost control your behavior. The ghost isn't dominant in your thoughts. And so that is something that you can intentionally do. You can intentionally heal this. And I am a certified post-betrayal transformation coach. And I help people go through a proven and predictable, research-backed roadmap for healing any type of betrayal. So like affairs, that kind of thing, or if, financial betrayals, ghosting. And so I work on with these five stages, the 5 stages from betrayal to breakthrough, and guide people through this. So just know that you can heal it's not about time. It's not like because the years have gone by, but when you intentionally do the work around healing a betrayal, it can get better.